Hey guys, so last video we were going over the two things I'm working on at the moment, which is the Bobo Lobo Longshot, which is over there, and this, which is a Pumpsnap modification that I'm working on. Well, not modification, it's a homemade blaster, but I'm tweaking the design to my liking a little bit. So this is the same model that, the same shell that I was working with last time. And what you're seeing here is carbon fiber vinyl, which is like tape, a textured tape that helps with grip, and I think it looks nice. So you see that in a few places, in case you were wondering what that was. And then I put 13 on it for, Union 13. But let me go over a little bit on how this blaster works. Now this does not really work at the moment. But the concept is foolproof. So what happens is I pull back on the priming bar, which is connected via these metal, I think they're brass bars, to this inside ring, which then pushes the second ring, an O-ring, and then finally this last ring, which is connected to the plunger rod on the inside of the blaster. And that's not good. So as you can see, this one is falling apart as I'm trying to demonstrate this. But essentially what would happen is you pull back, and then the catch would engage right there, except here's a problem with this blaster, obviously. And that's that the draw is too long on it. Now this has a full K26, which is the same spring used in a plus bow, which can give you a 7-inch draw. This blaster has a full 7-inch draw on it. That is really difficult to move. 7 inches to prime. A long shot is 3 inches, and those of us that actually do go out and Nerf are used to 3-4 inch primes. You can see this is falling apart. So a 7-inch prime is very difficult on your body to actually get your muscles to move that way, and it's very difficult on the blaster because then you're getting into longer and longer blasters for tolerances and things like that get really annoying. Also, the other problem with this is the trigger. There are problems with every type of homemade locking trigger system. The problems with snaps are clothespins aren't super stable. So after you use it for a while, the clothespin, whether it's wood or plastic, will begin to bend and kind of distort no matter what you do to it, really. So the problem with this is where I put the pin in that holds the trigger, that holds the plunger back, that pin has started moving back and forth. Now what it is it's sandwiched in between the plastic pin and epoxy putty. So the pin is right here and it's sandwiched in between these two things, but it started to move. So I can't get to it, and I've put glue around the top portion that I can reach, and it doesn't do anything. So that's pretty much, there's nothing I can do about that, and that movement will stop it from catching correctly because it has to be orientated forward so that when the ramp goes back, it catches it at the right angle, goes down, lets the ramp pass, then goes up and catches it like any plunger, really. So that little ramp, you guys know what I'm talking about. So this was a problem. I looked at this and I figured, you know what, I can learn from this and I can build a better one. What I figured I'd do is just a shorter draw. A long shot, I've gotten a single long shot to hit 120 feet with relative ease. That's what you're talking about is spring power for that long shot. It had a K45 and a stock long shot spring, and a well singled long shot with a good dart, that'll hit 120. That's no problem. So what I figured is, well, that plunger is a lot thinner than this one. So what if I do a 5-inch draw with this same diameter? That should, now the difference is the spring power, because I'm just using K26s in this, because the long shot, is difficult to explain, but the faster the plunger moves, the more range you get. Obviously, we all know that, but at a certain point, you're damaging the internals too much to be able to use stronger springs. Now, in homemades, it doesn't really matter because you built the whole thing yourself. It's PVC and screws. It's probably not going to fall apart. The problem now is your arms are going to get really tired, and the motion of doing that over and over again, assuming you're being fed from a clip or an RSCB or a hopper or something, you're not going to be able to do it quickly. And in Nerf today, you need to be able to do things really, really quickly in a war environment. So what I was thinking is, okay, I don't want to tire myself out, and I still want to be able to use this quickly, so I don't want to use anything stronger than a K26. So I want a 5-inch straw, 1.25-inch diameter plunger tube, and I want to make the blaster as small as possible. Now this is as small as I could get this design, this with a 7-inch straw, but I did something I almost never ever do, and that's draw a picture. And actually, I'd like to pick the camera up and highlight a few things on this, just to help explain what I was seeing a little better. Now, I drew this with a ruler. I'm not a very good artist, so I did not freehand this. But what this is basically, I wanted a 5-inch straw. So here's the part that the trigger would catch in the back here, and that's this is to scale centimeters to inches. So that's 5 centimeters away, and then at the same time you've got the bar that also needs to be able to move 5 inches. So I've got adequate room for that. I've got room for it in the slot. That blue line is the plunger rod, which eventually will be nylon. Currently it's PEX pipe, and then everything else is there. So I actually took the time to go out and measure everything I needed, which is something I'll probably be doing much more often now because it seems to work very well for homemades. Sorry while I mess around with trying to get the camera to stay here. So, I built it, and I thought that I was going to be doing this over Thanksgiving break because I go to school Monday and Tuesday this week, and then I get off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, and then I get Monday off as well. So that's 6 days, and I'd like to be able to just start a project and finish it completely within those 6 days because I'm pretty much going to be home the whole time. So I was going to work on this then, but I started it yesterday and I finished it already, and that makes me both very happy and very sad because it's like, what am I going to do now? But here it is, and this fixes, I'm just stealing the stock from the other blaster. This fixes all of the problems that the previous Pumpsnap did. So let me take the RCB off for a moment. This blaster is significantly shorter than the previous model of it. Now if I don't include the stock length, that's the comparison, just like this. So what it is the handle is much longer than the actual plunger tube. It extends much further for comfort, but the plunger tube ends, and the reason I like that is I just really like the way that looks, how it comes up and you've still got the grip in front of it. That's the way I wanted it. That's the way I envisioned it. And this will eventually be covered in the same carbon fiber vinyl tape up here, so it's going to match, similar to how this one is covered in the front. Also, this has a full 5-inch draw, which is exactly what I wanted, which means you're not moving too far when you're priming it. Now, farther than stock Nerf blasters or modified Nerf blasters, but not as far as most homemades. Most homemades are pullbacks, and those are the ones that it doesn't matter because that motion is slow anyway. So if you're going to use a slow motion like that, you might as well have a 7-inch draw and get the crazy range. I use an octo shot or a quad shot. That's what I've been using for the past 2 or 3 years, and I can't get that to work at the moment. This was the goal was to replace that blaster with this, and I'm pretty sure I did it. So I wanted it to function exactly the same, and it does the way it's primed. It's very, very smooth the way this blaster is primed. Now I'm not going to do that just yet because there's a couple other things I have to go over first. This is also the same dimensions. Actually, give me a sec. So this is what I've been using for the past few years, or the same, not this in particular blaster, but the same kind of blaster. So the dimensions are very similar, because normally I would put a stock on this for a size comparison. And then compared to a normal long shot, it's actually much shorter. And I like compact things because the way I play, I rush a lot and I rarely ever take shots over 80 feet. So the reason I was okay with a 5-inch draw here is I didn't need this to hit 150 feet, which you can theoretically do with a K45 and a 7-inch draw. I would be fine with 90 because I don't shoot past 80, and you do want that bit of speed. But this is all I need because I run a lot, so I'll just chase you down. But the second reason, or the second thing I addressed was the clothespin problem. And actually, let me put this on the table, and I'll bring you over so you can take a closer look at it. Oh, and I have low battery. That's cool. This is a polycarb trigger. The second half of it, rather, this bottom half. Because what happened is my other trigger is over here, and I pulled it down, and the whole thing just like sheared itself in half. It was very comical, rather. So what I did is I traced out on a piece of polycarb the exact design of a normal clothespin, just like that, and I carved it out of polycarb. So that's a 1/4-inch polycarb. That's not going to break. I don't care what kind of pressure that's under. That is never, ever going to break. And I've got a threaded piece for the pin that has a little ramp so it feeds correctly. So I'm not at all worried about that. It catches amazingly, and it releases very well because this polycarb won't bend. So normally when you pull, that pin doesn't want to come out, so it'll bend the plastic of a clothespin, whereas this won't bend because it's polycarbonate, so you've got more or less a hair trigger. This blaster has the same double ring design under this that the other blaster does. However, it uses only 2 rings, while this blaster uses 3. The one ring that's connected to the plunger rod, and these 2 rings I did a little more space efficiently and combined them into 1 ring. So those are concealed under this sheath, and this sheath is obviously so I don't get hit in the face by these bars moving around, and it's also a very, very comfy cheek rest. So that really completes the whole look for me, is because the octo shot or the quad shot doesn't have anything for me to actually lie my face on when I'm aiming, which always made it a little inaccurate, which resulted in me having to get closer when I was shooting. So this fixes that problem. So overall, it's really everything I could have ever wanted from this type of blaster. It's exactly what I want, and I can't wait to actually get out to a war and test it out. Because it's one thing to test it in the shop and a whole other thing to test it in, an actual environment. So let me take a few shots with it real quick. So it's very, very fast, and that's exactly what I wanted. And obviously it's a little awkward to use while I'm sitting down, but when I'm actually standing, you can prime, or actually a little easier would be to just elevate down about 20 degrees, and that will load a dart in no problem. So I'm super happy with this. You guys have no idea. This is freaking awesome. It is 1:03 right now a.m. So I finished this just before starting this video, so I don't know how far it shoots, but based on how quickly it hits walls inside, and that I haven't actually figured out what level barrel I want for it yet, I'm saying this hits 90 flat, no problem. Ideally, what I'm going to do in the future is extend this RSCB a little bit and make it a breached RSCB. I don't really know how I'm going to do that just yet, but thinking about it. And that's the next thing to do with this blaster. And then carbon fiber vinyl the front grip. And then it's done. And then I don't have to make any other primaries because this is all I need. However, I do plan on continuing into the area of homemades because that was a ton of fun. And the total parts in that blaster is like $30 probably, maybe less. So that makes me happy. See you guys next video.